Hi, Paul Pearson here with a third part to this presentation I've titled A Thursday Crucifixion According to Scripture. And I'm showing a little bit of a color chart that might help a little more to distinguish the exact timeline of the Passion Week. And I'll just go over very briefly what the particulars of that Passion Week were. Now, we're looking at the first is the 9th, which is 6 days before the Passover. It's found in John chapter 12, verse 1, and that's where Jesus came to Bethany for the day. And then it talks about the next day was a Sunday, and that was when he presented himself in Jerusalem. That was the day, Hosanna in the highest, and that was identified by Matthew chapter 21, verse 9, Mark chapter 11, verse 9, Luke chapter 19, verse 30, and John chapter 12, verse 13. And of course, that's where he entered Jerusalem and the triumphant entry where people were crying Hosanna in the highest and taking palm leaves and waving them as Jesus rode in on a donkey. So that was the Sunday, and that was the 10th. So you go to the 11th, where that would be Monday, and that's where in Mark 11, chapter 12, Jesus cursed the fig tree that was not producing figs. And so the following day, which was the Tuesday in the morning, the fig tree, when they went by the fig tree, it had withered. And that's found in Mark chapter 11, verse 20. And then on that same day, the Tuesday, it talks about, well, it has a little bit of a reference to the end times. After the tribulation is talked about in Matthew chapter 24, verse 29, and Mark chapter 13, verse 24. And then after 2 days was the feast of the Passover. That's found in Matthew chapter 26, verse 2, and Mark chapter 14, verse 1. So that all happened on Tuesday, and it's sort of a foreshadowing of the end times when it'll be after the tribulation is when the rapture of the church happens, after the tribulation. So then we continue on with the Passion Week. Wednesday, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and that was identified in Matthew chapter 26, verse 17, Mark chapter 14, verse 12, Luke chapter 22, verse 7, and John chapter 13, verse 1. And then they had the Last Supper with Jesus and his disciples on that same evening of Wednesday. And that's identified in Matthew chapter 26, verse 20, and Mark chapter 14, verse 17, and Luke chapter 22, verse 14. Then Thursday, let's see, Thursday that they may eat the Passover, okay, and Passover, that would be Passover, the 14th, or Thursday, would have been the Passover when Christ was arrested and then crucified and died and was buried in a tomb. And it talks about that all happened on Thursday, and about 3 p.m. he actually died, and then he was buried at before 6 p.m., which starts in the Jewish calendar. It starts a new day, which would have been Friday at 6 p.m. It would have been Thursday night, but it would have been the start of Friday as far as Jewish reckoning is concerned. So from that point, from the 3 p.m. Thursday until the resurrection, which happened on the early morning hours of Sunday, would be 3 days and 3 nights. So it was sometimes before sunrise when the ladies arrived at the tomb and found it empty. So that's Matthew chapter 12, verse 40, which talks about the 3 days and 3 nights that Jesus would be in the heart of the earth. So the resurrection with the stone rolled away, that happened, like I say, in the early morning hours of Sunday. And then the first day of the week, very early, and here's the scriptures. Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, and Mark chapter 16, verse 1, and Luke chapter 24, verse 1 identify that very early in the morning they came to the sepulcher and found it empty. And then later on that day, on Sunday, those that were on the road to Emmaus had an encounter with the risen Jesus, and they identified that the events, they didn't recognize Jesus at first, and they identified the events that today is the third day since these events happened. And that's found in Luke chapter 24, verses 20 to 21. So there you have it. You have the 9th through the 17th are all Passion Week. It's 8 days. You would have the preparation day and then the 7 days. So like you'd have the Passover feast itself and then the rest of those days. So it would have been an 8-day really celebration. You had the preparations before this big celebration, feast of celebration. So anyway, and then just the little bottom square is talking about the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th. And it is a Wednesday, a Thursday, and a Friday. And John chapter 19, verse 14 says, behold your king. Mark chapter 15, verse 25 at 9 a.m. would have been crucified. And then darkness in Mark chapter 15, verse 33, that happened at 12 p.m. that day on Thursday. And then you had that he died at between 3 and 4 p.m. that same day, Thursday, and that's found in Mark chapter 15, verse 34. And then buried in the tomb, and that's found at that before 6 p.m. That's found in Luke chapter 23, verses 50 to 54. Anyway, I hope this all can help you with the chart. I believe that having a colored chart makes it a lot more visible, and maybe you'll be able to identify the different aspects of that Passion Week. Very important, of course, the pivotal point in man's history. Anyway, I thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next time, God willing. Bye for now.